Assalamualaikum
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi
warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh. We're
wabarakatuh.
from we're from Group 10, the Birth of Nation State. Here we're going to present our presentation. Here's the member of our group. My name is Nabil,
My name is Muhammad Daffa Naufal.
and there's one more member who couldn't attend the presentation due to being sick. It's Kharis. So first thing first, we're going to talk about a nation state first. What is a nation state? So a nation state developed fairly recently. Nation-state is a political entity characterized by a distinct people, a defined territory, a sovereign government, and a shared national identity. The concept of the nation-state emerged in the late Middle Ages and gained prominence during the modern period. Now to the rise of the nation-state, we have origin and the early development. The nation-state developed fairly recently prior to the 1500s in Europe. The nation-state, as we know, it did not exist. Back then, most people did not consider themselves part of the nation. They rarely left their village and knew little of the larger world. If anything, people were more likely to identify themselves with their religion or local court. At the same time, the rulers of states frequently had little control over their countries. Instead, local feudal lords had a great deal of power, and kings often had to depend on the goodwill of their subordinates to rule. Laws and practices varied a great deal from one part of the country to another. The timeline in the early modern era, a number of monarchs began to consolidate power by weakening the feudal nobles and allying themselves with the emerging commercial classes. This difficult process sometimes required violence. The consolidation of power also took a long time. Kings and queens worked to bring all the people of their territories under unified rule. Not surprisingly, then the birth of the nation-state also saw the first rumblings of nationalism, as monarchs encouraged their subjects to feel loyalty toward the newly established nations. The modern integrated nation-state became clearly established in most of the Europe during the 19th century. Now for the major events that birthed in the nation-state. First, we have the Catholic Church and the rise of the nation-state itself. Newly emerging nation-states in the 16th and 17th century had a complex relationship with the predominant transactional power of the time. The Catholic Church, at times, partial nation-states were useful tools for the Catholic Church. On several occasions, for example, France and Spain intervened in Italy and invitation of the Pope, but some monarchs wanted control over their national churches in order to get absolute power. In England, the dispute over who controlled English church led Henry VIII to break from the Pope and establish an independent Protestant church in the 1530s. This break with the Catholic Church gave the English something to rally around, thus encouraging them to develop loyalty toward the English nation-state. At the same time, some devout Catholics in England refused to convert. The displeasure ultimately led to repression and civil war. Second one, we have the 30 Years' War and the Peace of Westphalia. The 30 Years' War fought throughout Central Europe from 1618 to 1648. Between Protestants and Catholics laid the legal foundation for the nation-state. The war involved many nations in Europe, including many small German states, the Austrian Empire, Sweden, France, and Spain. Despite the brutal war, the Catholics were unable to overturn Protestantism. The treaty that ended the war, called the Peace of Westphalia, decreed that the sovereign ruler of the state had power over all elements of both the nation and the state, including religions. Thus, the modern idea of the sovereign state was born. The third one, we have the centralization, or the process by which law and policymaking become centrally located, helps spur the development of nation-states. Final power rested with the central government, which made the laws and practices more uniform across the country. A single centralized authority, rather than many diverse local authorities, allowed nation-states to quickly develop their economics. Merchants could trade throughout the nation without worrying about local taxes and regulations. Also, the nation states was much stronger military than the feudal state. Rulers were able to create national armies, which were not dependent on the nobility. The armies could receive consistent training so that all units could work well together. In many cases, the newly emerging nation states dominate the older forms of political organization. Next, we have the importance of the Napoleon, the development of the state. Napoleon Bonaparte was a key figure in the development of the nation state. Amid the chaos of the French Revolution in the late 18th century, most remaining medieval and feudal laws were overturned and a truly national law code was established. Similarly, a national military was created, although not the only reason. French status as a nation state was a key factor in its ability to dominate feudal neighbors in Italy and Germany. Napoleon's military victories also paved the way for the emergence of nation-state in the rest of Europe. In many places, the people rallied together as a nation in order to defeat Napoleon. Next one, we have an introduction to England, the new monarchy. England underwent huge changes during the reigns of three generations of Tudor monarchs. Henry VIII ushered in a new state religion, and the increasing confidence of those state coincided with the growth of the distinctive English culture. House of Tudor, English dynasty of Welsh origin, which gave 5 sovereigns to England. Henry VII. Kadangnya itu, Cuk, suara di tukang. Okay. Okay. There's House of Tudor, English royal dynasty of Welsh origin, which gave 5 sovereigns to England. Henry VII, his son, followed by Henry III, 3 children, and Elizabeth I. England underwent huge changes during the reigns of 3 generations of Tudor monarchs. Henry VIII ushered in a new stage of religions and increasing confidence of the state's coincidence with the growth of distinctive English culture. Now, for the 2 Henrys, Henry VII, victory against Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth ended the turbulent wars of the Roses. He shored up his position by curtailing aristocratic power. Cautious and calculating, he kept the peace and built up a firm financial base, often at the expense of his subject. Tall, handsome, and cultured, the extravagant Henry VIII was striking contrast to his father. Art and commerce flourished during his reign. The cloth trade enriches many, but peasant lost out as more and more land was turned over the posture. Castle Acre, Prussia, Norfolk was dissolved in 1537 during the suppression of the monarchies. The prior and his land were bought by the Duke of Norfolk, who demolished most of the monastic buildings, but restrained prior lodging as private houses. Now to the no heirs and Reformation. From the mid-1520s, Henry's reign was overshadowed by his need for legitimate male heir. His first wife, Catherine of Aragon, gave birth to a daughter, but no son. Desperate for a boy, Henry sought to marry Anne of Boleyn, but long negotiations to obtain papal consent to a divorce failed. Henry made the decision to break with Rome. In 1533, he declared that he, not the Pope, was the head of the Church in England. His decision initiated the Reformation of English religion, the most crucial event of the Tudor period. It shaped English history for centuries to come. Along with his minister, Thomas Cromwell, Henry launched the superfession, also known as dissolution of the monasteries. Protests and revolts such as the Pilgrimage of the Greys in northern England were savagely put down. The confiscated wealth and the monastery greatly enriched the king and many of his favored subjects. This beautiful 16th century plate and ring are part of the Warner collection on display at Ranger's House, London. Both are interestingly decorated and demonstrate the technical advances that influences craftsmen of the period. Next, we have the dangerous time. In this time, breaking with Rome brought the danger of invasion from Catholic Europe. but the money plundered from the monasteries was put towards building a system of coastal artillery fort. Designed for heavy cannons, this reflected for the triumph of firearms in warfare. A suspicious and increasingly tyrannical Henry still sought to secure his dynasty's future. His marriage to Anne Boleyn produced a girl, Elizabeth, but ended in Anne's execution. Jane Seymour died bearing the longed-for boy, Edward. The Anne of Cleves was rejected shortly after marrying Henry and his next wife. Catherine Howard was beheaded for treasonous adultery. Henry's sixth and final wife, Catherine Parr, helped to establish his daughter, Mary and Elizabeth, in the line of succession. Even she only narrowly escaped condemnation for supporting the Protestant, Henry was still a Catholic at heart and continued to burn Protestant for heresy. Next, we have the Reform and Counter-Reformation. Radical Protestant reform began only with the accession of the bookish boy king Edward VI, himself an enthusiastic Protestant. Despite a West Country rising against the new Protestant Book of Common Prayer, reform intensified under Edward's Lord Protector, the ambitious Duke of Northumberland. A mortally ill Edward bequeathed the crown to the Northumberland teenage daughter-in-law, Lady Jane Grey, the great-granddaughter of Henry VII. But she reigned for only 9 days before being ousted by the tide of enthusiasm for the legitimate heir Mary I. A convinced Catholic, Mary immediately set about reversing the Reformation, but her initial popularity quickly waned. She burned many Protestants, and her marriage to Philip II of Spain was unpopular. Failing to conceive a child with him and leaving no heir, Bloody Mary died largely unmourned. Her subject welcomed her sister Elizabeth with relief. Next one is Gloriana. Daffa is going to read this slide.
I'm going to explain about Gloriana. Elizabeth I was among the most astute and successful of all English monarchs. She resisted demands to marry and she sedulously cultivated her image as Gloriana, a virgin queen, wedded not to man but to an increasingly purposeful England. For most people, the quality of daily life improved steadily throughout the 16th century, but not for all. And late in Elizabeth's reign, a series of poor laws addressed the long-standing problem of beggary. Elizabeth was not universally loved. However, although her establishment of a moderately Protestant Church of England satisfied most of her subjects, it further alienated Catholics from prompting plots to replace her with her cousin Mary, Queen of Scots. Confined in various castles across England for 19 years, Mary was exiled in 1587 by order of Elizabeth I, who feared that Mary was plotting to usurp her. And the next one is formation of the British nation-state. The formation of Britain as a nation-state was a complex and gradual process, marked by English dominance and the gradual assimilation of Wales, Scotland, and Ireland through a series of Acts of Union, which united England and Scotland under a single parliament. English monarchs played a crucial role in this process, centralizing authority and promoting a unified national identity identity by suppressing regional differences and promoting a common language and culture. This process, unlike the rapid unification of Germany and Italy, was characterized by territorial adjustment, political maneuvering, and cultural suppression. And the next one is for
Nation state langsung. Nation
formation
state.
of the British nation state. Throughout this timeline, England exerted its dominance through political maneuvering, cultural assimilation, and military power. This This led to the suppression of unique cultural identities in Scotland, Wales, and Ireland, while also fostering the spread of English language and culture worldwide. The information of the United Kingdom was not a linear process, but rather a complex interplay of historical events, political decisions, and cultural shifts. While it while it resulted in the creation of a powerful and influential nation-state, it also left a legacy of cultural suppression and ongoing conflict, particularly in Iran. The next one, quick timeline of the formation of Britain as a nation-state. 1698, masih Bill? 1688, the English Parliament declared independence from the monarchy, establishing England as the dominant power in the British Isles. And in 1707, the Acts of Union were passed, uniting Scotland and England to form the Kingdom of Great Britain. This union led to the suppression of Scottish cultural identity and institution. Next, in 1801, the Acts of Union were passed again, this time incorporating Ireland into the United Kingdom of the Great Britain and Ireland. This union was marked by religious conflicts and the suppression of Irish national identity. The last 1922, the Irish Free State was established, marking the independence of most of Ireland from the United Kingdom. However, Northern Ireland remained part of the UK, leading to ongoing tension and conflicts.
To summarize, studying the birth of the nation state is crucial for understanding our modern world. It reveals the historical events and forces that shaped our current political systems, national identities, and international relations. By examining the emergence of centralized power, the impact of religious conflicts, and the rise of the national consciousness, we gain valuable insights into the evolution of governments, culture, and society. This knowledge empowers us to critically analyze contemporary issues like nationalism, globalization, and ethnic conflicts, and ultimately become more informed and engaged citizen in a world defined by nation states.
So that is our presentation from Group 10. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for
Thank you.
watching.
Thank you for watching. Bye
See you
bye.
soon. Bye bye.